Kensil Culture, Puppets, Props, Puns, Podcasts.
Run. What are you doing, John? We've got a show to do over here, all right?
Hey, Wade.
No, I hate to be a producer here, but hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to Kensil Culture, the pop culture magazine. And here he is, the one, the only, our MC and host, Mr. John Kensil.
Hey, you smelly nitwits out there. I hope you guys are having a great time checking things out. I have my new my Smokey and the Bandit Burt Reynolds red cowboy shirt on there. Oh, and wait,
you look like Gator. Okay, Burt Reynolds and Gator. That's what he wore. And I wore a tie today, John. You know, I'm the legendary Wid. I like to dress up and I like to collect things, but I got a tie here. Okay, that has Coca-Cola written in 30 different languages, okay? Coca-Cola, you thought that it were just a,
I found a fact out about Coca-Cola.
What's that?
My red shirt here, too. There's somebody around the holidays named Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
There's a big rumor going around that Santa Claus was originally in the Coca-Cola promotions. They developed the fat guy in the red suit with the white beard. Well, big lie. Big lie. There's depictions of Santa Claus in a red suit from 1853. So that's a complete lie. Just like the moon landing. Hey, anyway, everybody.
Well, you know, Coca-Cola, that hits a spot. And since we are in the pop culture, it's no.
Coca-Cola was originally made with 100% real heroin.
I should hit you with this, but
why? Because
it's a soft drink. Sorry, Pepsi Cola hits the spot.
So, check this out. We have a letter from a viewer. Mrs. Beth Rabbitface says,
Hi, Beth.
Hi, Beth. Miss Beth Rabbitface, I think that's Peruvian.
She's one of our subscribers. We want everybody to subscribe and hit that bell.
Miss Beth Rabbitface writes in, hey, John and Wid, we lost some major comedians recently. Did Wid ever encounter Richard Belzer? Richard Belzer was a scarecrow-looking guy with the sunglasses all the time and black hair and bad skin who was on several TV shows, and he just recently passed away at the age of 78. And did you ever run? You can be honest with you.
I worked with him, yes, at the at the Comedy Works at 126 Chestnut Street above the Middle East Restaurant. Back in the day. And Belzer was thought of as, he broke a lot of the barriers. He pushed the envelope, and he was sort of a intellectual insult comedian. You know, he would pick on somebody or have a lot of crowd work. And but he was always, he always had sort of a barrier between himself and the other people because he had to take that stand, which is a strange thing because I think that he was one of the first comedians that I ever saw because he played at the community center the first time he ever told jokes. You can look this up in Cranford, New Jersey, okay, right across from my, my church, St. Michael's. In Cranford, New Jersey, there was a community center, and he opened for an artist named Buzzy Lindbergh, okay?
As a porno star.
No. Buzzy wrote, You Gotta Have Friends.
Oh, yeah, I know that guy.
Buzzy Lindhart. I'm sorry I called him Buzzy Lindbergh. But that's another,
He flew.
I'm going to say this, and I met him a couple times when I was on
You can be
Alan
honest with you,
Thicke.
if he was a douchey.
Well, I'm a prop comedian, and he has a famous quote that a prop comedian is like carrying your brain around in a paper bag. Okay, that is actually one of his quotes. And it was sort of, it was sort of like I was like the anti-joke.
Oh, yeah.
Because I did use prop. I mean, I was an antique dealer and a flea market guy, and I just naturally fell into, props, and I didn't care.
But
and he was a little bit more of a, he was a slick New York guy who I don't think he liked me.
Plus, you hit the nail on the head, too, because, like, he wore sunglasses. So there's always a wall between you. You don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
You couldn't see his eyes, and he was like lanky and black hair. But I went with one of my friends one time to open for him at the Keswick Theater. I didn't, but I went with my friend who opened for him.
Right.
And it wasn't sold out, but there was a couple hundred people there, right? But he did his. He's the one who came up with the phrase like, "Yeah, babe, right? Yes, yeah, sure, yeah, whatever, whatever you say." Which he got mad at Dennis Miller because he thought Dennis Miller appropriated that.
Wow.
Yeah, you got that right, cha-cha, right? So anyway, so he does his act, crowd work. So what's going on? And but then he did a Jack Benny impression. It was pretty good, but it was dated. This is in the 2000s or 90s, late 90s, and he's like, Rochester, roll me a doobie. Like that's what it was. He was doing pot jokes. Like, hey, man, don't bogart that J, Don. And it was just dated. But then he came out with a band, and he impersonated Mick Jagger, and he was skinny just like Mick Jagger, and he looked just like he put a wig on, and he's doing that Mick Jagger.
He looked like a chicken with his head cut off.
Yeah.
That was his famous bit. And I do it with an inner tube and make his lips go real big and like that. So, but I mean, Belzer was he was a pioneer. Okay, he was a pioneer, and then he what an illustrious career he had. He had. He had television shows of his own, for a little while where he got wrestled with, and then he.
That's what we're going with. Well, he had a weird career because he was the house MC at the Catch a Rising Star up in New York from like when did it open, like in the early 70s?
Which is a feeling of power. Yeah. You gotta think about it, and you would want to keep guys like myself who use props or guitar acts out of the
Oh, exactly right. The people prop always a guitar act, right? But he was the house MC at the Catch.
Carrot Top talks all about the prejudice that the prop comics get. But he, I don't care. I knew I was getting into.
He exactly. Well, he was the house MC. Well, he also was the warm-up comedian on the first season or two of Saturday Night Live. He wasn't on camera. And he just came out to talk to the crowd, worked them. I read before that he was peeved because he didn't really hit like Belushi in his eyes in the 70s or George Carlin or Richard Pryor in the mid and late 70s. But then he started getting acting work. He was in the 1982 film or Night Shift with Henry Winkler, Ron Howard,
I
Michael
remember
Keaton,
that one,
Shelley
yeah.
Long. Fun, very nice, fun movie.
Night Shift.
Yeah, right. He's in it as a gangster.
Who directed it?
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, and directed Richard Belzer in Night Shift.
But then if you go to his IMDb account, he's got 100 acting parts. Like he became an actor because if he had a unique look, he's in Scarface with Al Pacino, that Al Pacino movie Scarface where he has the accent Al Pacino. It's probably his most hammy acting for Al Pacino.
Well, he did. He had a unique looking face. He was
runny looking face. But but I read that he was
gaunt.
Yeah, gaunt. And I've seen him in a million things, and it's small doses you could take of him. Well, anyway, in the 80s when Mr. T and Muhammad Ali, Mr. T and Hulk Hogan were at WrestleMania, which I think was WrestleMania 3. They're promoting it, and he had like a tag team against Roddy Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton, and or the Sibian match where they did a photo for a Sibian. But they were on the USA Network. He had a show called Hot Properties, He came out, did a monologue.
Okay, yeah, on the USA Network. Woo, was that a while ago?
Well, as of usual, these you don't say to a big giant steroided out maniac like Hulk Hogan or right, and he's like, of course he said, wrestling's fake, babe. Hulk Hogan goes, well, let me show you something, and he put him in a front like chokehold.
And John knows about wrestling.
Yeah. So it's Hulk Hogan who has like 35-inch python arms and they're just big, and Richard Belzer's head's between here. And he's like, pick up, I guess. Well, he picks him up and he drops him, and Richard Belzer, it wasn't really a body slam, it was a chokehold that knocked him unconscious.
Yeah.
Well, he fell on the ground and cracked his head open, and he eventually just jumped up and said, hey, he'll come back, and he went to a commercial. But here he had to get stitches.
I remember seeing that, and it was sort of like a sensational thing because you actually saw him getting and passing out. You didn't see that. You saw
when I watched this
live
around the same time is when consumer reporter John Stossel encountered Dr. D. David Schultz in Madison Square Garden dressing room, the hallway, right after a wrestling match. So there's a guy all steroided out, all emotional and sweaty and energetic, and what do you call it when you're high on the adrenaline, right? So John Stossel, who looked like Geraldo Rivera, curly hair and mustache.
Right, I remember John. I was
he goes,
New Yorker.
He goes, people say wrestling's fake. It is fake. It's cool. And T. David Schultz goes, it's fake? Is this fake? And smacked him in the head. He goes, is this fake? And he smacked again on the other side. Well, he got a hearing loss. He was hurt by it. And the Richard Belzer thing happened like right around the same time. So anyway.
I think Richard Belzer won $1 million for that.
Well, he sued him for $5 million, but he
settled for $1 million.
No, I don't know what he got. I never saw the dollar amount for the settlement. But what he did, Richard Belzer, he used that money to buy a house, a manor in France. And he says, as a joke, he calls it Shea Hogan, Chez, because his name, it's the money Hulk Hogan paid him. And that's where he lived at.
Oh, Shea Hogan.
Yeah. And that's where he lived at. And he came back and he would film Law and Order. But there's a very good drama that was really good on NBC called Homicide, Life on the Streets.
Yeah, Baltimore.
Very good, written by like David Simon, who I think went on to some guys went on to The Wire, some guys went on to Sopranos. Just a really good 5-year show of detectives. It's NYPD Blue only in Baltimore. Well, they liked that character, Detective Munch.
Oh yeah, didn't he do Munch in a couple shows?
They brought him over to Law and Order.
Yeah.
He was on Law and Order SVU and another Law and Order. But it's really funny if you look up online. I think he has the record for playing the same character on like 38 different shows. He was on The Simpsons. He was on The X-Files. They did a puppet version of him on Sesame Street. A bunch of shows. He just paid the lanky guy. Like he's the cop who interviews you. And it was so funny. It's got to be 30, at least 30 appearances on other shows as the character. And I always thought that was really neat. But he left the show in 2016. I think he moved to France full-time in 2018. Mm-hmm. His wife.
They're mean over in France, too,
Are they mean?
Oh, that's what all the rumor is, that the French are very rude.
Oh, yeah.
They don't like, they don't like us fat Americans.
Yeah. Right? And, his wife was a star of softcore adult romance videos. Lady Chatterley, Lady Chatterley's Lover, Lady Chatterley Gets a Sibian. She's in all these... She made this.
Lady Chatterley meets the Three Stooges.
Yeah, and but he passed away. And, he was groundbreaking in the smart alecky, Dennis Miller, David Spade type thing, like the smart ass running commentary. But it's weird. I will say this though. Everything I read about him, they all say he was a super nice guy. He also too. He had a tattoo. He was obsessed with Jerry Lewis, and he has the Jerry Lewis, the what do you call it, the caricature from the Jerry Lewis telethon on his arm right there, right? And he actually got a tattoo of that.
There's a great picture of him and Jerry, he's just like this with Jerry Lewis,
and Jerry Lewis has a glass.
You can tell,
I think he died in 92 or 94 as Sam Kinison. Okay. Mm-hmm. At Sam Kinison's funeral, people got there. It was very, they were sad because the way he died in a car accident and stuff, and they had a memorial for him. People were speaking, right?
Right.
Dusty Hill from ZZ Top.
Okay.
Or Billy Gibbons. I think it was Billy Gibbons.
Billy Gibbons.
Which one? The one with the beard. Ugh, right? I think it was Billy Gibbons. He was dressed.
An Italian grandma.
He was dressed like I'm sort of dressed, with a white shirt, a shiny black thing, a black ZZ Top hat, right? And he spoke at Sam Kinnison's funeral, right?
Yeah.
Richard Belzer was the MC of the funeral, and he gave a very touching, moving eulogy. This is Dusty Hill. Well, Billy Gibbons. Billy Gibbons gave a very touching story about how he was friends with Sam Kinison. It was very touching and sad and stuff, right?
Texas guys.
Yes.
Texas.
And remember, he's dressed all in black with a big long beard. Right? When he's done, Richard Belzer goes up and says, "Thanks, Rabbi." And said the whole place just exploded because he called a Texan rabbi.
Well, that's New York humor. It's a lot of based on Jewish humor. Okay, and that's how it's brought up, and to say that was that's a natural for.
Oh, definitely, quick-witted, very funny. Always an interesting interview.
It was weird though. The guy who started Catch a Rising Star also passed away this week.
Rick Newman passed away the next day. He was probably very elderly too, but he started to Catch a Rising Star. And also too, people got to remember this too. The Catch a Rising Star was not started as a comedy club. It was the next star. It was mostly a comedy club, but like, hit me your best. Pat Benatar started there. I think maybe Bette Midler, singers, opera people with opera. Broadway stars would come in and sing songs, but then it became a comedy club. Nationwide chain. Our friend Kevin
Kearney, he ran it, and he introduced me to. I hung around with Rick Newman and Kevin Kearney, and Rick Newman didn't own it anymore. He had sold it to somebody, and so he wasn't. We were just like a couple of guys out to have drinks and hang around with each other and. And Rick was very, very nice, and he was easy to talk to. I said, "Did you know that?" Of course, he knew. I said, "You got that from Perry Como," and he goes, "Yes, I did." And it was "Catch a Rising Star, Catch a Falling Star,
same song,
Catch a Falling Star, and put it in your pocket." And he turned that around to "Catch a Rising Star." And that's how he got his name. But it was actually a Perry Como song that was a hit, Catch a Falling Star, right? And he also he collected things by Billy Rose. Look him up. Billy Rose was he was a big producer. He was the one married to Fanny Bryce, the funny girl back in the day. Big time producer, writer, wrote a couple of songs, but. That's what Newman collected. He collected stuff from that, and I knew about that because of I love the old stuff, and so we were able to talk about that. And no attitude. It was kind of fun.
When I first started doing comedy, I used to MC at the Catch a Rising Star in Princeton, which was a very good room because like New Yorkers would come down. They could do catching like Connecticut, but the one in Princeton was right down the turnpike from New York City. And they loved doing it. And I was there, and it was when I did it, it was like every night of the week except like Mondays. You worked a lot, and I don't think he was the owner then, but he stopped out there. He was in town for something. It was a kind of a grayish beard, very nice guy. But it was I don't know. I said hi to him, but I don't think he was owner at the time. But it was a very neat club, across the nation.
It was there, Catch a Rising Star in Princeton. Now, when I played there, okay, you got to stay over, you got to eat in the employees' lounge. This is a Hilton, and it was a beautiful Hilton in Princeton. And one night, I came to check on my props in the showroom, and a whole bunch of them were missing, like my sombrero, my golf clubs, my things like this. And I ran to the security, and security took me in the back of the check-in, and they had cameras there. And wouldn't you know it, a parade of kids, okay, not little kids, teenager and maybe, in their early 20s, they all had my stuff on. All sorts of, like a kid wore the sombrero, had my Captain Crunch doll, had like different, props that I use. And I go, well, we know where they are. Let's go get them. John, they wouldn't let me go get them because their father had rented out an entire wing of the Hilton in Princeton and was a rich dude. Right. And these kids must have been overprivileged and took the legendary Wid's props and stole them right from them. Of course.
Fortunately, there was a Sombrero Hut store next door and golf clubs. Yeah.
Don't give me the hi-hat. No, exactly. No,
no way.
But it was the first time that I ever saw security footage.
Oh, really?
Okay, and I was completely blown away about how they could zero in on you and stuff like that. I said, "Look, that girl got my my basket over here," and they were doing that. But they were all dressed up and they were drinking and throwing things in the air, and I cried.
Now, I also too, I just got done reading the book with the other guy from the Improv, Bud Friedman. He just passed away about 3 months ago. Right. Now, in the book I read too, Bud Friedman.
Friedman.
Is this picture on there?
Bud Friedman is the fellow that you're going to see.
There's a glare. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's a glare on it.
There's a guy with glasses there. Not with the glasses, with
right
a monocle.
He's right there. There's a monocle in a cartoon form. And there.
Yes, he was the Iron Hand that ran the Hollywood.
He started the Improv.
Hollywood Improv.
But he got along with Rick Newman. You thought they'd be like mortal enemies?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Did you ever meet him?
Yes, unfortunately, because
this is Bud Friedman he's talking about.
Bud Friedman, the Improv guy. Everybody loved him, and everything. I don't know how much of it was.
He wore a monocle.
But because I am a prop comedian, he hated me from the beginning and tried to sabotage. I won a contest by the Johnny Walker people, and he tried to sabotage that and not let me on. So all the finalists from around the country went up to Boston, to Nick's up in Boston, upstairs at Nick's, and out of the they put me on last. Okay, I was the 101st one that went on in front of these judges who were from the Johnny Walker company, and and when they saw me, they went crazy and they gave me all sorts of accolades and things like that. I didn't come in 10th, and I know that
the fix is in.
But he saw me and he cursed me every time for having the name Legendary, which I didn't even give myself.
It's a joke. No, like
a legendary Wid. And he would go, "How dare you call yourself legendary? All these people have put it up for years and legendary. People like Bob Hope are legendary." And giving me a lecture about how I was disrespectful to the entire showbiz community because I had the name Legendary.
Yeah, like Reverend Bob Levy. Those circumcisions.
Didn't give the Amazing Jonathan any shit. Okay?
Exactly. Amazing Jonathan, legendary Wid.
But he would go out of his way. But his wife, Silva, who was in she was in the chorus company of a little show called The Pajama Game. Okay, Bob Fosse did it and everything. And Bud was a backstage Johnny. Okay, where a backstage Johnny is somebody who tries to make dates with the chorus girls. Okay. And Bud went backstage and met Silva, and they were married for a while, and they opened up the Improv as
and the Improv too.
A little hole in the wall,
it was like
the rest is history.
Like a 60-seat restaurant room with checkered tables and stuff. But he saw there was money in that, and then they eventually got divorced. And I think he let her keep the Improv in New York, and he got the Improv in Los Angeles.
He kept the one in Los Angeles, and she kept the one in New York. But she was a lot nicer to me. She understood that.
I auditioned for her one time. She tried to reopen the Improv at some restaurant.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we had to go in for auditions. And it was like on a Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock in the middle of the day with no audience, just her sitting there. And she's like, okay, you get 3 minutes, right? And she had a keychain with a flashlight on it to give you the light. And, there's a point you got to say, F this, screw this, this isn't going to work. And I'm in line there with weirdos or a big, chubby, Rubenesque girl who says things like, my mother says you should meet Mr. Right. I only met Mr. Right God who should use because he stinks. Like jokes like that. My therapist says, Sibian. It's just
so. What happened at the audition?
It's funny too. I think I did pass it, right? Because I think there's only like 6 people showed up for the audition, and that was it. I was one of them. But the room never opened up. It was like Don't Tell Mamas up or something up in New York. It turned out a complete mess.
I remember that.
But Wid,
I played there a couple times.
Don't Tell Mama? Or
I sang at Don't Tell Mama. Don't Tell Mama was probably, but I like to sing, so it didn't, I wasn't that affected by the...
So Richard Belzer passed away. This guy passed away. Also, too, I see people like freaking out and crying online. Our generation, they're dying. They're in their late 70s. What do you think is going to happen? Cindy Williams went to heaven.
And we are so aware of these people. We're so aware of these people because we have become creatures of pop culture and the television age, which a lot of these, people who are dying were sort of in the early days of that. Or that's what, we were brought up on, and we baby boomers.
I just saw a picture of Beaver from Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe he's 70. Oh my God. He looks about like he had a long paper route.
I met him and Wally. They were signing autographs at a opening of a mob-run theater in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Okay,
yeah.
It has since closed. It's in weird, but
if you can find, that's probably the early '80s. If you can find you put Jerry Mathers today.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, right. Yeah, he's just gotten old looking and
we're so used to seeing him for years and years as the eternal youth of television that keeps you in there, and he was always Little Beeve.
Yeah. But this shows all crazy our knowledge of weirdo TV and celebrity stuff, and we talk about this stuff, and we talk about anything you guys want to talk about. If you email us and hit the little bell there, wherever it's at, over there. Ding! Yes, and we'll notify you of our super shows here. Check us out on YouTube, and you can listen to the Kensil Culture podcast on all formats. Apple Podcasts, everywhere else. And Wid?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kensil Culture.